Hey Matt, how are you?
Good morning, Nicholas. How are you this morning?
Good morning, good morning. I'm doing fantastic. Another great Friday. Have you seen that they are talking about having a new Star Wars?
I see all of it. I'm on YouTube all the time, and I am kind of a Star Wars geek. Uh, and it is May 2nd, so I'll say to you, May the 4th be with you.
I love it. Let's get started. All right, everybody. This is Nico with eStreamMate, the company that gets you live stream and video commerce on your site, social media, email, SMS, wherever you are. The content is shoppable. So excited to be here with my great friend Matt from E6 Marketing, the company that gets you on QVC and HSN. We've got an interesting docket of news today. But before we go there, Matt, why don't you tell us what the show is about?
Thank you, Nicholas, and thank you everyone for tuning in. This is the VCommerce podcast. We're here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. What is VCommerce? It's video commerce. It's the shopping app, shopping dynamic that was born out of direct response television, DRTV, graduated into QVC, HSN, and live selling through television. And now it's everywhere through your apps, through your websites. We talk about video commerce. Something's happening every single week in this space. It's a growing space in e-com and in retail. So we talk about the top 3 or 4 things that catch our eye each week. Try to keep you within 15 to 20 minutes of the show. Although, Nicholas, the last couple of weeks, we've had some great guests. We've
Yeah.
gone long because the conversations have been great.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, if you feel you have something to bring onto the conversation and you're not trying to sell something to the audience, that's the most important thing. If you really think you have something to bring to the audience, please reach out to us. We will always hear. We'd love to have you on the show. Matt, one of the story that you and I we saw this week is Google adding more video into their shopping. So why don't you get started with that?
I know. How about that? So everyone's jumping in, right? So Google experimenting with adding video to the shopping carousel. So you and I don't know if it's our algorithm or what with Google, but I haven't seen too many examples of this, and I'm on Google all the time, searching different websites and searching different e-com spaces. But they're going to be experimenting with adding a video link to their carousel for live shopping, which I think is amazing. So it's another example of how video commerce is becoming just a standard of how we shop here in the US.
I love the fact that so basically Google has this huge library of product and you and I we talked that a bulk of the some of those videos are actually product related, and so they have the Google Shopping, the idea of combining both of them to make that a whole experience a little bit more in sync and a bit more informative for the shopper. I think it's really super informative. I think the challenge really is like how do you know for Google it's a pretty big AI problem. Like how do you actually are able to identify each product and then tie to the right product, the right video, make sure the video is relevant. But I mean, hey, they have a bunch of engineers and a bunch of AI, so probably it's kind of easy for them to do such thing. But it is super interesting that they are trying to bring some of their YouTube component and then bring them into their shopping carousel because let's be realistic, those two things are not connected in real life. So they have to figure out the magic to make those two things work.
Yeah.
But I found it very fascinating.
Well, last week
Maybe,
we talked about, Open AI and Chat GPT getting into shopping. So like
yeah,
Google, is no longer the king of the hill. I think they got to stay competitive and stay technology
yeah,
driven, or I guess a leader in the search tools. Shopping obviously is a huge search factor in all of search.
yeah.
If I were Google, I'd be looking over my shoulder a little bit with this OpenAI Chat GPT. Everything we talked about last week and what I learned about it this week is amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I yes, it's true, but at the same time, Perplexity has been doing that for 6 months. It's not like it's news, but it's not so news in my point of view. I think it's just because it's ChatGPT and people are talk a bit more about it, but yeah, and honestly, I don't know what is the percentage revenue that's coming from Google Shopping. Are you shopping with Google Shopping, you Matt? Have you done any
No,
shopping?
No, but I
So
do start that. I start that
yeah,
way.
yeah, you
I mean,
start that
it's the
way.
search,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, talking about other interesting news, the second thing that I wanted to bring on with you, Matt, is Amazon. We haven't talked about Amazon in I won't say in a while, but like maybe in couple times already. And Amazon is introducing. I mean, it's not really introducing. It's called Shop the Show. They used to have only they launched this feature back in July of 2024, and they had only 10 shows indexed for this. So basically, the idea is that you can watch your favorite show on Amazon Prime, and then once you watch the show, you can actually open your phone and then call out shop the show directly on your mobile app, and now you will see all the products that are featured, or maybe not all, but like a bunch of products that are featured directly in the show itself. It made me think about what Walmart was doing back in December of not this of 2024 but 2023, where they had this 23 short clip of video. I don't know if you remember that romance, that rom-com that they created, where basically you could actually see these two actors moving around in their life, and then you could actually shop those products directly on TikTok as you were watching those short clips. So here it sounds like it's a great scale. So they done this pilot with 10 video. It sounds like it was very successful because now they just released yesterday to include over 1,300 titles. So this is no longer like a small feature. This is a real feature. I guess it worked well for them, and it's kind of exciting to think that way. I don't know if it's something. What do you think on that, man?
Yeah, it's not a new idea, but the technology's there now, right? So we talk all the time about having that second screen when you're watching television. I do it every single night. Watch TV with my tablet on my lap and search different things. Now, I don't know how this is going to work, but if I could click on something on the screen, on my second screen, like his shirt or something in the background, and a bubble pops up, and then I could click to order it, then if the technology is there for that, which I assume it is, that is a game changer. But this has been done, like I think I mentioned this months ago on our VCommerce podcast. Like there's an old show called NYPD Blue. It was like a cop show from the 90s, and they experimented with like having the actors have a Coca-Cola, in their hand, or some other basic advertisement in their hand, and then they would obviously go to the commercial about that Coca-Cola. So it was intermittent to the actual drama of a
Yeah.
guy drinking a Coke. Now this is in the 90s, so I thought that was game changing back then, but it never really caught on. And QVC has tried to play with that too, like everything in the background. You could order whatever's on the shelf in the background. They can't keep up with that either because it's a 24/7 environment. So it's kind of tough. But I guess if you get 25 different teams together and figure out how we do this, how we place these products
I mean,
throughout the show, it could possibly work.
I think what's happening here is, so there's two things. First of all, I do think, like, I like the cup idea and the cup show you're talking about, but I will say product placement has been a big source of revenue for a lot of new show actually, right? So you can go and let's say you're Audi and you want the next James Bond to be where the person ride the Audi instead of Porsche, then you pay a bunch of money to the
Right.
production, and all of a sudden James Bond is riding an Audi and not a Porsche. So that has always happened, really. Now, what I think is happening is, guess what, Matt? We were just talking about this with Google, right? Google has this video asset, they have this product library asset, and they have an AI in between that is actually looking at those product and those videos and say, hey, I recognize this product on that video. And hey, I have this product there. Let me pair them out into the carousel. And I think this is what's happening for the carousel for Google. The technology is there. And I think this is exactly what's happening for Amazon. Amazon has the content somewhere, they have the product on the other side. And basically, they're probably using computer vision and some other stuff to actually say, hey, actually, this product, I have it on my catalog. Let me add it and index it on my list of shop the show. And I think that's what's exactly is happening here. I don't think it's like additional teams or people actually watching, because it's pretty cumbersome, and Amazon has such a big library. So So I think that's what's happening here. But I think it's very fascinating, and computer vision is an interesting technology. I will say that's something we're looking at Extremely, but it's super, super, super expensive. And every time I bring the topic, my CTO is like, do
Yeah,
you have the money to spend on that? So
right.
that is the interesting kind of concept there.
No, I like the idea of it. We'll have to wait and see what the execution looks like.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I wanted to bring on with you, Matt, is I think last week we were talking about the passive versus the active viewers, especially on the debate live stream versus TV shopper. And you and I, we have been talking about that a lot lately and trying to understand what's the behavior of the live shopper. What is he doing, right? Because once you know what is he doing, you kind of start to think about how do you can optimize for it. And we know in the back in the day of TV shopping, and that's something we've talked quite a bit together, is that most of the TV shopper is a passive viewer. Basically, I have the TV on the background, and then I'm watching, I'm cooking, I'm doing, she's cooking or she's doing something else. And then something caught her attention for like a couple seconds. And now she's watching the movie or she's watching the show, and maybe she takes on and do a transaction. With live shopping, the challenge is very different because you're on the mobile, mobile experience, or maybe something like a tablet or something, and not all of a sudden, what happened when you actually are not engaged? And we know that the user on mobile is a much more, unattentive users, I will say, that tends to swipe more quickly. And so the conversation was, how is live shopping going? And I before I go into some of the conversation I had, Matt, I'd love to kind of like, we talked about this, like what is in your point of view the user behavior of that live shopper, the one that is digital. You talk to me is like, how do you actually watch a live show currently?
Yeah. So we talked about this before. My background is in home shopping, so QVC and HSN and the traditional home shopping networks. And we've always said every 2 minutes that customers turn in the channel, and it's probably a lot quicker than that. It's probably 40 seconds or 50 seconds, but we like to say 2 minutes, and then we break it down every presentation into like 2 or 3 different themes that you want to repeat over and over. So when the customer tunes in the middle of the presentation, and you've already said something important about the product, they'll hear what you had to say, or they'll watch that demonstration that you've already done. So 2 or 3 things that you want to repeat, and 2 or 3 demonstrations that you want to show over and over, because the customer's tuning in and tuning out. On the V-commerce side, the digital side with TikTok Shop and through e-commerce and video commerce, instead of 2 minutes, it's probably 20 seconds at the most. Swiping is a lot quicker than flipping the channel. So you got to repeat and kind of stay on top of the most important aspects of that presentation of that product over and over and over. So something I read this morning that I thought was perfect for this kind of explanation of like where video commerce is going. I think we're all still trying to figure it out. How do you hold her attention? I say her because most of my shoppers are female, so she's fickle, she's busy, she's a 25-year-old or a 75-year-old. They have different lifestyles, but they are kind of the same kind of a shopper. I saw a great thing. They broke it into 3 different buckets, or 2 different buckets: people, process, and technology. So in
Okay.
the first bucket, the people, the talent that you're working with, and the people
Hmm.
around that talent, the process of ordering or the process of your live stream, and the technology behind it. What are the algorithms and how you engaging through the tech? Then on the other side, it's discovery, attention, and engagement. Discovery is finding out, oh, I've never seen this product before. Attention is educating her so she pays attention to it. Tell her about the product and features. And then engagement, engage with her. Build a following around that brand or around that product. And if all these things are working correctly, I think you can be successful. But it's a tough ask.
Yeah, and so I love the fact that you bring engagement, because I was talking with a company that has 1.2 million followers on YouTube, and they are very, very savvy about their live shopping. And so I was asking that conversation with them. So do you think if the TV shopper is a passive viewer, do you think the live shopper is also a passive viewer? Or what's your state of mind? Do you know about the user behavior? And so what that person was telling me about is that, well, they don't have like a broad set of data about, that the shopper experience itself, but what's have been reported to them has been that they categorize the shopper in like kind of three type bucket. One is the shopper that is actually watching and engaging at the same time. So that's the kind of like the one type of shopper. Do you have another one that has actually two screen, shopping on one screen and then doing the watching on the second screen? And then the third one is actually someone that watch now and then will come back later in the day within the 24 hours to do the shopping. So it's a kind of a disjoint experience from watching to shopping. But I was making this argument about, okay, how do you hook that user? And the person was telling me that, well, if you think hooking from the content perspective, this is only for the first time viewers. But the really, in his point of view, the hook is not so much the content itself, is the community that is built around the product. And so for him, it was all about like the fact that you have chat, and then the fact that you are within your community, within your people in a way that are watching there, and people wants to comment on what others are saying. You see the same people. That is what the hook is in his perspective. And I thought that was an interesting idea because, in a way, we tend to think in the video, the hook is really the first couple seconds, and it's very hard to do anything. That will always be kind of that thing. But with live stream in a digital manner, the maybe the hook is on the content itself. And I'm curious to hear that on that thought specifically, Matt. Does QVC ever tried, or HSN ever tried to actually create that community aspect with TV, where as a way to re-engage that user, just having like a chat feed on the side of the TV where people can actually chat with each other and engage? I'm curious to hear if that has been. I will say that every time that I see some of the major TV player leveraging YouTube, leveraging Facebook, leveraging whatever, the community aspect is completely forgotten. But I'm wondering if they've tried it, and they found it like it's actually diminutive to their overall sales, or they just never really explore that as a mechanism to drive further growth on their business.
Nicholas, you use the word community. QVC, HSN, all the live streaming home shopping networks talk about family, and it's the same kind of thought. Like, welcome to the family, that kind of thing. We're a part of your home. We're in your home. Thank you very much for having us. And then talking about the products and everything they're going to show. You just brought up something about so there's something QVC had the other day that I'm still thinking about, and they had a woman that was selling pierogies, which is a Polish potato, pierogies. I'm not sure you're familiar with pierogies. I'm Polish, so I know all about pierogies. And they had a company that was owned and run by deaf people, DEAF, deaf people that ran the company out of Pittsburgh, out of Latrobe, Pennsylvania. And they had a deaf guest on QVC for the very first time, and they had her interpreter on camera as well. So the host was in the middle. The CEO of the company, I think, was on the left, and the interpreter was on the right. You heard the interpreter talking for the most part, and you saw and you heard the deaf woman speak. But the true education about the product was coming from the interpreter. It was wonderful, and the host really embraced it and talked about family. And I think this was one of the first times, probably the first time, QVC has ever had a deaf woman or a deaf person on air as an on-air guest representing a brand. I thought it was amazing. And to me, it brought up family. It brought up community. It brought up bringing people into your infrastructure. So I agree with you. The engagement is the key. So I talked about people, process, technology, discovery, attention, engagement. The engagement is absolutely the key. If you build the engagement around your content and entertain them and show them products that they love and talk about yourself and talk about them and their experiences, I think you're going to be on the right track with video commerce. you asked if QVC and HSN and these other shopping networks do like a live stream comments kind of thing, and they really do not. They used to run like a lower third every now and then, where comments were coming from their Facebook pages or their own website pages.
Oh, okay.
They have experimented with that, but there was a short-lived experiment. They've also done
like the show we're doing, right? We bring someone a comment from the live, but there was really no way to, have a real feed, real time of people chatting with each other and being part of the group, right?
Isn't it funny that like TikTok Shop, everything I'm hearing about that, you have to comment on everyone commenting about your show on TikTok Shop. That host is encouraged to comment. Oh, hi Joni, welcome aboard. Hi Betty, thanks for coming. And QVC, it moves so rapidly and so fast. They don't have time to engage in the same way. So I don't know if it can work in that format, but I love how you're thinking though, to bring them into the community.
I mean, like we're talking about second screen, and wouldn't that be wonderful that the reason why you're going to the second screen is to be part of that community through a chat. And by the way, those products are showing up there. You can also shop. So you've got the TV as a first screen, and the second screen is the chat where the whole community can engage with each other. I don't know. Super fascinating conversation. I just wonder, like, what is the thing of this chat? What can that chat be becoming? Obviously, with live shopping, it's a big thing, right? And I just thought it was fantastic to hear perspective from someone that the chat itself, the belonging of that conversation, being part of the conversation was the hook, not so much the content anymore at some point.
And I will say, last week I mentioned on QVC, they had like 4 major celebrities bring their brands onto QVC. Yeah. John Legend, Hillary Duff, Martha Stewart, and whatever her name was, Decker. Her last name's Decker. They had 4 people that averaged about, or totaled about 85 million followers on Instagram. So in my opinion, about bringing those celebrities into QVC in one particular week, it was more about engagement than sales in bringing people into the community. So it's an absolute part of what everyone should be thinking about, the engagement, bringing more people in, introducing them to your website or to your business, and then engaging them with video. I think that would be the driving force to grow sales.
Awesome. Well, Matt, it's been an interesting episode again. Thanks everyone for being here. We are here every Friday on LinkedIn as well as on Facebook and YouTube. You can also find us on your favorite podcast, either Spotify or obviously Apple under the Live E-commerce podcast. Again, if you know anyone that wants to pop in the show, not someone that wants to sell us something, but really someone that is genuinely having an interest around video commerce and want to bring on something quite cool, or just in e-commerce in general, feel free to send us an email. Thanks everyone for being here. We are here every Friday, and we look forward to see you again very soon. Matt?
Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.